Yes, I started sanding the floor. We got a little bit of a crown, actually, right where the drain is. See the little bit of movement. It's high in the center, and that pan doesn't have a massive slope to begin with, so we don't want it high in the middle working against it. So if anything, if there was a little bit of a dip near the drain, I'd be okay with that. But this hand sander, I don't know if it's taking the material away fast enough. It might be a good excuse to buy a belt sander. I've kind of wanted one anyway. I was tempted to go grab the grinding wheel and some of my floppy disks, but I think that's too aggressive, and then the floor will end up looking like the foam does, just not quite as extreme. And I don't want a bunch of little waves under there. I want it smooth. So I'll sand away with the 80 grit for a little while and see how quickly it gets flat. But if it's taking too long, I might just buy a belt sander. Okay. I don't know if I mentioned or not, but hand sander's going a little slow for my liking. It's really close, but it's just going to take forever. So I think the like belt sanders are, for a nice one, you know, you're $100 to $200, pretty easy. And I haven't needed one. It might be like the Vice though. Like I bought the Vice now, I use it all the time. If I have a belt sander, maybe I'll sand everything in the house, right? So I think all I'll just borrow my dad's. I'm pretty sure he's got one. So I'll pick that up tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'll try to get, because the shower pan's already ready. So if I got about an hour and a half if I push it. But if I get my wall boards pre-cut, dry fit, make sure everything's the way it needs to be, then tomorrow I can quick sand this, mix up some thin set, get the pan, the curbs, and the walls in place. That'll be really good headway. And then tomorrow afternoon, my little elbow should be here for the drain. And I'll just keep on keeping on. Part of me wonders if I shouldn't address ceiling issues before I start putting this stuff in. So maybe I'll dry fit all the panels and not worry about installing them yet, and we'll do any kind of repairs because we got all the horse shit rusty screws, right? So I think those screws come out one at a time. Maybe I find all the screws above the shower because a lot of this is cracked and gross because they didn't use bathroom paint. You know, all the steam. You can see the tape line. Like it looks like shit. Maybe I'll figure out. Yeah, even back here we got. So the strip that has all the valves and stuff on it needs to be 35 and 5/8. And of course, this stuff's German, so these are probably centimeters, right? But we can still use a line as a guide, and we don't have to snap one all the way across it. It's probably super convenient if these are level on the wall for doing your tile. I think that's kind of the whole point. But we're going to cover it with waterproofing. So too bad, so sad. Okay, we got a piece cut. The height works. Got that down there just to measure for it. Now we need to figure out where those holes are going to be on that board. Right, so they got to be pretty well dead nuts. So we'll just measure, you know, from whatever point of reference, it will come straight across the top. We'll mark which line it's going to be on using a level, and then how far over, and then we'll just cut our little holes. Probably go get the hole saws for that. Make sure they're the right size for that flange. And I've actually got the other one on the way, so maybe I'll just mark them and I'll wait to cut them because I think the other one, like this one, has the lip, and then the where'd it go? Oh, it exists somewhere. The one for the pipe. It's gone. It's gone. Maybe the cat ate it. Oh, there it is. Right, so this one's kind of flat profile, but the one that I ordered looked like it had a lip like that one. So maybe we'll wait to cut the holes until we're for sure ready to put those on. Well, the bigger hole for the valve we can put on, and the other two, because they're recessed, yeah, they'll let us put the piece in place. So we'll cut our big hole first, and then we'll worry about the small ones when that other part gets here. Yeah, so I did the height with a level after putting the plate on, and then measured from the wall to the center of the valve, and made a mark and drilled a small hole. So now I can put my flashlight up against it, this butted against the wall, and as you can see, the light is, it's not quite in the center. Up and down ways, it looks good. Left and right, definitely needs to come in, needs to go towards the wall a little bit more, is what it needs to do. Okay, so there's that hole cut. Everything's lining up pretty nice. I'm happy with it. The only thing is this protective shell that they talk about cutting off after you put your tile on. Well, it's so big that it stretches this this thing out. So, right, if I slip that over, now it's an oval, it's not a circle. So I think what we're gonna have to do is cut this thing off much deeper in than the manufacturer asks. And the whole reason they're doing it is they want to protect this stuff from debris while you're working. So if it's a matter of we put this wallboard up and it's got this gasket, and then I'll just make, I'll just cover it with plastic, or I'll cover it with something, anything, right? But we need to have more space for this to go on to make it seal. We can't install it the way it is now. So it's kind of irritating, right? I mean, it's something that other people know because they do it for a living, but all these holes match 6 screws that sandwich this whole top half to the bottom half. Well, the bottom half has 2 bolts on that flange that hold the case on. So it's not like this. I probably could have just unscrewed those 6, taken this whole thing off instead of sawing it, right? And it would have been fine. Or even more so, I could have removed this whole plastic box and just taken those 2 screws and mounted to the wall. Now, I think that those being mounted to, this has a lot of fiberglass in it. Like, you can see it, this stuff, it's a ton of fiberglass, so it's strong. So if it's mounted to this and this has a bigger plate, it's going to be more stable than just the 2 pieces. Yeah, either way, it should work now. Let's see. So there we go. Now I just got to make sure, does it go that way or does it go this way? That doesn't make any sense because that's not very well. This is pretty thick though. Like if it goes this way, well, no, because we're gonna have thin set and tile, and then you want enough of a lip because that plate has an angle to it. So yeah, it goes this way for sure. Yeah. So yeah, that'll get spooged in with thin set, just like everything else in this system, and it'll be good to go. It's getting there. So made this piece a little wider because I wanted it to line up with the curb, and then we'll have our trim piece that'll flush it against the drywall. So I went ahead and marked where the drywall needs to be cut. I'm gonna take this stuff all back out because we're already getting it a little bit dirty. I can see why actual tile guys see that, like, they get this stuff and they're like, why wouldn't you just do a mud pan, right? Because you put it in a mud pan and you can walk on it. You can do all kinds of stuff, right? It's tough, it's strong. Whereas this, like, I'm worried about the edges and I don't want to put dents in it and all this other crap. So it really, like, it needs to go down when you're ready to put tile down. So we're gonna do everything dry fit. We'll get this cleaned up, get things back in. We'll start measuring in pre-cutting bands. So I need to trim the curbs too. Now you want the trimmed edge up against the walls. So we'll see, right here we can just look at the line and say, oh, we got to take 2.5 blocks off. But we want to take it off that end. I guess if we did the wrong end, you just flip it around, who cares? But little things like that we got to do right. And then same thing, once these are trimmed and flat, then we can measure, make sure this gap's even. Saw some more of the floor off. I want all this out of here for that too, because it'll make a mess. So just one step after another, get everything prepped, and then I'll borrow the belt sander from the old dad and do the floor. Depends which day, because if I work Saturday again, it could be, heck, well, we're supposed to go to their house on Saturday. So if I go to their house Saturday before work, pick up the belt sander, then Sunday sand and install this stuff. So that'll be the goal, is to get everything prepped and ready to put in on Sunday at the latest. Saturday if I don't work Saturday. So it's got this banding because you need a 2-inch overlap on all joints, and this is 5 inches wide, so you get 2.5 each direction, right? So it'll go up the seam there. Everywhere a screw goes into the wall, it gets there's a little corner piece. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So I want to get all that ready and laid out so I know where it's at. And once I mix my thin set, I can just do all of it in one go. Okay, I got the drywall cut away. I'll have to get my grinder and grind that plate off. It's not being used anymore. And actually that whole board's not being used anymore, right? So it's tied into the joist. It's kind of a pain in the butt, and I didn't want to screw up the drywall, but well, screw up. There'll be a spot where I can put a strip of drywall in, right? And it shouldn't. Well, it should be okay. Let me see. Oh, yeah, I don't like that. I don't want to crawl back up in the attic, though. I mean, the only thing I had going for it before is that there was a wall here. So, yeah, I can just put a piece in and it'll be fine. But, yeah, there's a lot of ceiling work that I need to think about. Because really, it would be nice to patch up the things I need to patch up on the ceiling. And then get actual bathroom paint and paint the ceiling before doing shower stuff. Because painting the walls, you know, they're not... nothing's going to get all over the shower, but I don't want to have to stand inside my brand new tile with glass walls in the way trying to paint the ceiling. So maybe at work tonight when there's a little bit of downtime, I'll look up what's normal. Maybe I can get some stainless screws and then just one at a time pull them out, put a new one in, and just do the whole ceiling. Because you can see back here there's little, you know, those screws. Is it? I don't know if I can... Nope. So, yeah, it's just all cracking and gross. I'm not sure if do I have to sand the paint, or do I have to take all the drywall down and put new drywall up? Right? Because if it's all like that already, and I paint over it, is it just going to crack the new paint because it's already started? I don't know how these things work. Either way, yeah. So tomorrow we'll put all the orange stuff back in, and then we'll start checking. We'll cut our curbs, and then we'll get the corner pieces and the banding and try to pre-fit some of that stuff so that it's ready to go. Yep. I was able to get a 45-degree elbow Amazon Prime for 91 cents after tax. So got this fixed up, everything cured the way it's supposed to. So I feel good about that. Drain stuff is done. Well, except for the very top drain, which I'll have to put in when the pan goes in. So, and here's the pan with the curbs trimmed finally. So when I go to pick up a belt sander on Saturday, I'll bring these with me. So instead of having to drag my table saw out of the shed, well, out of the trailer, I'll just use my dad's. It'll be fine, because we don't want the curbs this tall, right? We want them close to as short as we can while still being in code. So I need to find a tape measure. Top of the drain to the top of the tile on the curbs, 2 inches is our maximum. We have, I think this stuff's same thickness as, oh, it's a little thicker maybe. Let's get some of this out. Yeah, that's thicker than the floor pieces, which is even better. So that's even more in our favor. So we can go, the highest point are going to be these left edges. There's going to be a little bit, you can kind of, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but right here's that crease that goes to the corner. I was talking about if you don't cut them evenly, so unless I made the shower shorter left to right, this is going to be higher than this. So advantage of the mud pan is all your edges would be the same height. That's such a small amount, I don't think it's going to affect us any. And we'll find out, right? Maybe it's more than it looks like from here. But either way, top of the drain to top of the tile. If this is the highest point, then from here to the top of the curb only needs to be 2 inches, and we'll be fine. And right now, oh yeah, so we're going to cut these, yeah, a lot. So we got 4 7/8, looks like. So we can cut 2 7/8 off of these curves. That's significant because that's almost half of the height. So we can, yeah, we take 2 7/8 off the bottom. Really, we could just be those guys and cut 3 inches off it, but I'm not gonna. So yeah, I'll make a mark and write down how much is being cut so I remember, and then we'll cut these down Saturday. Hopefully get everything prepped so that Sunday I can sand the floor and install as much as we can. Which really, I just need to start cutting strips, checking all the corners. I need to add a stud still at 16 inches. Well, we don't need to have the niches ready yet, but it'd be nice to kind of do them. But I think what's going to end up happening is that we're limited by the wood here, and then I want it to start, so the grout line matches with that trim that we got. So we have a full row of tile, trim, and then niche. And the easiest way to do that is to not have your hole cut out yet, and then tile up the wall, and then when you're 1 row of tile from where you want your niche to be, you go ahead and cut out the shape and then slip your new one in. So we won't cut the niches until it's time to place them. That way they can be the perfect size. So there's some of the stuff in place. I cut one of the strips already. I made a little friend here out of the seal. So I got the other seal. So one for down here, one for up there. So we'll do pipe coming out, this to seal it, and then the top piece will just go through the tile up against the backer with a bunch of the sealant, the tube sealant that they sell. And then for the walls, we need full-size strips at a minimum. Going to be in that corner and at the seam, and then I think that needs one too, but at least 1, 2. So 2 of these at 8 feet. I cut one already. We'll see how much more I have, because really if I did, you screw 12 inches apart, and you can just cut these into a square, right? And then that square goes over the screw head with thin set. But there's so many of them that if I have enough of the roll, then I'll just cut an 8-foot piece for each stud and just do the whole thing in one strip instead of cutting it apart. Yeah, so we got that piece, and then all these other corner parts. I ordered extras that then came in the kit. Yeah, so like inside corners, we need 4 for the bottom of the pan, right? These are pre-formed. So these will go in there, and then you need 2-inch overlap with strips along each side as well. And then I got outside corners that go, I think they can go on here. Because I got extra of these for a reason. There's just one? There's just one. Yeah, so then this will go like that, right? But that's not enough of an overlap. They want a 2-inch overlap. So we'll end up with a strip along here as well. So we'll need a strip along the bottom, and we'll need something to, oh, no, because these don't need to overlap each other. They need to overlap where the seams are. So we'll need one up vertically here in between the two. Anyway, there's tons of videos on this crap, so we'll just check the manufacturer and how they do their inside curb edges. Actually, there will be an overlap because we're going to cut 2 inches off, right? This is going to be shorter, and then these will kind of sit inside each other like that, and that'll be fine. So yeah, I'm going to place everything out and make sure I have enough stuff. It's got pieces cut. One roll gave me 3 8-foot strips for the wall and 1 of each here and here. So now that I have 2 of each here, there's essentially 24 feet and this is what was left over, a little bit of change. So we may be able to get away with just doing full strips down the studs, but I'm not going to cut the rest of them yet just to be sure, because we want full strips on the seams and on the edge. So I might have to do some of the individual screw heads, but not all of them. We'll just use all the tape up. I did have a 3rd roll. I ordered 1 roll, realized I needed more than 1. It was delayed, so I ordered 2. Those 2 came in, and that 1 is still in Milwaukee, right? But let me see when that was there. Yeah, so May 20th, Burnsville, Minnesota. It's just not, I don't know if I asked for a refund. It's not going to show up. So, finally have a day off. I had intended to do the pan and the walls, and then I got thinking about it, and fixing up the ceiling and painting it now is going to be smart compared to doing it after the shower's in, so that we can, you know, get dust and paint and crap all over the nice new shower. So she wants the walls in here to be white because we're going to have the shower as a feature. When these get replaced, it'll be, we're thinking slate. So that'll be black, the floor will be black. Yeah, we want the walls to be white to keep things nice and light compared to everything else. So I think what we'll do is we'll just go around, we get everything out of here that we care about finally. Should have done it a long time ago, but I'll hit, you know, there's tape. Like, why? Really? So maybe just start scraping shit out. I got a big bucket of junk and some of the self-adhesive mesh for this part, but maybe I can mud out the ceiling too a little bit and make sure that it's level left to right, because we know the floor is going to be fine and all the tiles will be level. So yeah, maybe that'll be part of this adventure, is I can stack up tape and mud or something to figure out. There's somebody somewhere knows how to do it. I can just look it up. So yep, I replaced all the screws that were bubbling through. So there's a couple that were fine because they were like underneath the tape and they were done right. So I don't think they'll pose a problem in the future. And then any of the taped parts that I was able to get a finger under and peel tape off, I just went ahead and peeled it off, hoping it'll help with the seam in the future. So all you got to do is mud these holes up, the walls, ceiling, and cut a replacement piece to go in there. It's getting there, but look at, I took the tank off because I wanted to paint behind it, right? Because that's what you should do. And the original people didn't. So this is probably just bare, or prime, it's probably just bare drywall. So, yeah, one thing after another. When I retire, I'm building a house and I'm doing it myself. I'm not putting up with this shit. Here's a curious one I'll have to look up. So I saw there's a big little big chunk of caulk in there. So I, you know, me being the idiot that I am, I poked it. There's a hole, and it looks like it's supposed to be there. I don't know if it's part of the molding process, and then they have to fill it for it to work right. So I'll have to get some sealant back on that before we put the toilet back together. But I want to find out what it is too. You know, so mud everywhere. A little too thick in some of these spots, and you can see those places where it kind of sagged down because it's too heavy. But I'd rather have too much than too little, and then just have to sand it more. It's a pain in the butt, but should only have to do it once, right? And then I got the curbs cut when it's over at my dad's, so that's the actual height that they'll be installed. So not such a high trip me into the shower step. So I think that's all we're gonna do today. We'll do the ceiling. This stuff needs 24 hours to set up before you can put another coat over it. So I figure I'll wait the 24 hours to paint. So not tomorrow morning, but Tuesday morning before work, start doing ceiling paint. Well, sanding and then paint. In the meantime, I can sand the floor, but I don't want to do that tonight because I'm sure it's going to make a pretty nasty mess and I want to get some garage stuff done.